I think everyone has heard of the first cause argument. Basically, the idea is that everything which began to exist must have had a cause. This is usually used as an argument for the existence of God. Theists say that God is the first cause and is necessary to explain everything else. He is the answer to the question, why is there something rather than nothing? Of course, this is a very old argument. It always comes up in debates about the existence of God, and atheists have offered many counter-arguments. But even though I've heard many people talk about the first cause, I don't think I've ever heard anyone talk about the last effect, so I thought maybe I should talk about it. Of course, I can't talk about the last effect without talking about the first cause. And it seems strange to me that so many people talk about the first cause without talking about the last effect. It seems to me that the first cause argument is closely related to the principle of sufficient reason, which is usually credited to Leibniz. According to the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy, Leibniz presents arguments for the existence of God from the PSR in a number of different places. Suppose that God does not exist. If God does not exist, then the only things that exist are contingent beings. Would the entire series of contingent things have an explanation? The explanation of the entire series cannot be a member of the series, since then it would explain itself, and no contingent thing is self-explanatory. But the explanation cannot be outside of the series, because we have assumed that there is no non-contingent being, i.e., God. Thus, if God does not exist, there would be something unexplained, the series of contingent beings. Everything has an explanation, therefore God exists. Of course, this begs the question, why does God exist? What caused God? What is the sufficient reason for God to exist? I'm going to suggest that the last effect may be the answer. I'll come back to that. But if we ask what caused the first cause, then obviously someone will have to explain what caused the first cause, and that will be the new first cause. And then someone will ask what caused that, and obviously this is an infinite regress. And for some reason, the human mind can't accept this. But why is it harder to accept infinite regress than to accept infinite progress? If we think there must be a first cause, then surely we must also think that there must be a last effect, or else we're left with an infinite progress. According to the law of causality, which is central to the first cause argument, every effect has a cause. Every cause has an effect. There's a chain of causality. The example of pool balls often comes up. Why did one ball strike another ball? Because another ball struck it. But why? Because another ball struck it. But why? Ultimately, we get back to the cue ball, and then to the cue stick, and then to the person holding it. I suppose that would be God. But what caused God to hit the cue ball? If we take the analogy too literally, we might also ask, who racked the balls? Is he playing against someone else? If not, then how does the game make sense? What is the reason or cause for him to play it? So maybe the first cause argument actually implies the existence of two gods, or opposing principles, rather than just one. But I suppose it's also possible to imagine that God is alone and playing with himself. Either way, let's start with God as the first cause. Why did he hit the cue ball? What is the reason? This is different from asking, what is the cause? When we ask, what is the reason for something, we could mean one of two things. One is causal, and the other is teleological. And this touches on the topic of determinism versus free will, which I've covered in another video. A pool ball is acted upon. When we ask why one pool ball hit the other, we're asking a question that has to do with causality. We're not asking a teleological question. We don't ascribe mental states of intentionality to the ball itself. But the ball is a vessel of the intention of the person who set up the shot. We could say that the ball fell into the corner pocket because it was struck at a particular angle by another ball. That's the reason, in a causal sense, why it fell into the corner pocket. But we could also say that the reason the first ball struck the second ball was in order to cause it to fall into the corner pocket. That's the reason in a teleological sense. Of course, in a causal sense, the first ball struck the second ball because it was struck by the cue ball, and so it was also acted upon. It was not the actor. It's a vessel of agency, even though it does not possess agency itself. You might say that it's possessed, and I encourage my listeners to think about demonic possession in light of this discussion, although I won't go into the topic here. Of course, the cue ball lacks agency as well, and is merely acted upon itself. But still, if someone asked us why the cue ball hit the first ball, we could give one of two reasons. We could give the causal reason, or the teleological reason. We could say that the cue ball hit the first ball because it was struck by the pool stick. And then, if pressed, we could say that it was struck by the pool stick because the pool player hit it with the pool stick intentionally. But this would beg the question of why the pool player hit the cue ball in a certain way with the stick. And this brings us to consider reason differently. We would say that he hit the cue ball with the cue stick so that it would hit the first ball, so that it would hit the second ball, so that the second ball would fall into the corner pocket. So, considered in this sense, why did the cue ball hit the first ball? It hit it so that it would hit the second ball. And why did the first ball hit the second ball? So that it would fall into the corner pocket. Of course, in this sense, we could say that the second ball fell into the corner pocket because the pool player intended it. But in the other sense, we could say that the reason for the pool player to strike the cue ball with the cue stick in the first place was so that the second ball might fall into the corner pocket. And so even though we consider the player to be the first cause, in a sense, it's the final effect which caused the first cause to set the chain of causality in motion. And so when skeptics ask, what caused God, this doesn't necessarily imply an infinite regress. We simply have to approach the question from a teleological rather than from a causal perspective. The first cause was caused by the last effect. God may very well be the reason why the universe and humanity exist, but in another sense, the purpose of the universe and humanity is the reason why God exists. And so Leibniz's argument is turned on its head. If the principle of sufficient reason requires God, then what is the sufficient reason for God? If God exists, it's because there is a sufficient reason for God to exist. God exists in order to create the universe and humans, so that the purpose of the universe and the purpose of human life might be fulfilled. And what is the purpose of the universe, and more specifically, human life? I'm going to suggest that the purpose of humanity is to become divine. The purpose of man is to become God. Man is the Son of God, and God is the Son of Man. Does this perhaps shed light on the mystery that Christ is Son of God and Son of Man? Is this what's meant in the story of Moses and the burning bush, when God says, "I am that I am," or "I am the beginning and the end, the Alpha and the Omega"? I am both the cause of my own existence and the purpose for my own existence. Of course, the idea of a self-creating one will make some people's heads spin. This never-ending circle may be just as difficult to accept as the concept of an infinite regress or an infinite progress. Yet we can picture it quite easily on a simple number line. The infinite regress is negative infinity. The infinite progress is positive infinity. And the infinite circle is zero, the place where both negative and positive infinity begin, and the place where they meet. I'll end there for now, but I intend to continue this discussion in the future. If you've enjoyed it, please hit the like button, subscribe, participate in the comments section below, and share this video on social media. If you'd like to support my channel, you're free to do so through PayPal or Patreon. My links are in the description box below. Thanks for listening. Peace.